Hello! So in this lesson we're going to be looking at B15 Lesson 2, which is all about fossil records and extinction. Now please make sure your phone is off, you've not got the TV on in the background to distract you, any other tabs on your computer, laptop or tablet are closed, you're not playing any games, and you have your booklet ready to take notes and answer the questions. If you're ready, we shall begin. So what can fossils show us? Well, fossils give us a record of how organisms have evolved over time. And this is over millions of years. It's not over the last 100 years or so, we're talking millions of years. You'll remember from the last lesson, fossils take millions of years to be made. It's a very, very slow process. And the problem is there are relatively few fossils, especially complete fossils. So it's a challenge to see what organisms were like, but we can make estimations based on the evidence we do have. So any complete fossil records we do have, or looking at parts of the organisms that are similar, we can make comparisons. Now sharks, for example, have not changed much over millions of years. Fossilized sharks from millions of years ago are pretty much identical to the sharks we have today. There have been some changes, but not too many. One of the big ones is a big shark was called the megalodon from millions of years ago, a massive shark. It's now extinct, but it is very, very similar to the great white shark that is its closest relative today. Horses, however, have changed quite a lot over millions of years. I'm going to show you a diagram. It's the same one that's in your booklet. So we've got horses going through the ages. We've got our most recent horses up here. This is what a horse looks like today, and about a million years ago as well. They haven't really changed much over a million years. They stand about 1.6 meters tall, so some taller, some shorter, and this is what their front leg looks like. You can see it's very, very straight, and we've got just one hoof there. We go back 10 million years ago, and we have complete records of this Pleohippus, slightly shorter. But we reckon it looked pretty similar. We can see again the leg is fairly similar to the modern horse as well. The hoof though is slightly different. 30 million years ago we get the Merychippus, again about 1 meter tall, but we're starting to look slightly different. Especially when we look at the front leg. We can see we've got these extra protrusions out here. The leg has changed quite a bit. We go back 14 million years ago, we get the Mesohippus. Much, much smaller, only 0.6 meters tall. Again, the front leg, very, very different. Still got sort of 3 protrusions out there, but slightly different from the Merychippus of how they've changed. And we go back 60 million years ago, so very, very long time ago, we get the Hyracotherium, and that is only 0.4 meters tall, so a lot smaller. And we can see again the leg is very, very different. Now we can make conclusions that over time this horse has evolved. It's lost these extra digits on its leg to get what we have today. They've also got taller, longer, and they have changed. Now you might be thinking, well, why don't we see any of these horses around today still? Why are they all gone? They can't all have evolved into the present horse that we have today. And you're right, we don't have any of them around today. They've all become extinct. Now, extinction, got a little definition for you, is the permanent loss of all members of a species. So they've either all died out or been hunted to extinction, so none of them exist. Now, over the lifetime of the Earth, there have been lots of species that have gone extinct. We'll have a look at those extinction events, we call them, in our next lesson, and looking at times when there's been high levels of extinction and lower levels. But every year there's been species going extinct through various things going on. Now, sometimes it's due to conditions changing and the species not being able to adapt. So, for example, if we go into an ice age, a lot of the organisms can't cope with the colder weather. If we go from ice age to warmer weather. Again, a lot of them won't be able to cope with going to warmer weather. If the food changes, if there's flooding, so any condition changing, the environment changing, the species can't adapt and they can't evolve, they will become extinct. Can be due to the introduction of a new predator or a disease. So a new predator could quite easily hunt them if they're not adapted to be camouflaged from it or run away from it. Very, very quickly they can be hunted out. Or a disease could spread through a population. If there's not enough variation or none of them are immune to it, they won't be able to survive and will become extinct. Could be due to a competitor. So this is an organism that fills the same niche within an ecosystem, so it has the same role. It will compete for the same food sources and habitats. If the competitor is stronger, the original species will be forced out or will die out and will become extinct. Sometimes it's due to human activity. We are very, very bad at, or very, very good at making animals become extinct, which is a bad thing. Famous one is the dodo. So the dodo, if you're not familiar with it, is a large flightless bird. It's about 1 meter tall and was very, very tasty. Apparently, it lived on the island of Mauritius. Mauritius is sort of off the coast of Madagascar, and the first recorded time of people going there was around 1505. The Portuguese landed there, and then it was used sort of for the next sort of 100 years or so as a stopping point. It's now got its own inhabitants, government and everything. Very, very nice place to go. But the dodo lived there. It was the only place in the world that it lived. It was cut off from the rest of the world, so the dodo was there. We think as initially a type of pigeon, and then it evolved to become this dodo. It's still got wings, but you can see these wings are very, very small. Dodo couldn't fly. It didn't need to fly because there was no predators on the island. All its food was on the floor, so it didn't need to fly. Now, over the space of about 100 years, as humans came and we were hunting it and eating it, and we brought cats and dogs and rats, they were able to eat the dodo as well, so they were new predators. And the dodo very, very quickly went extinct. In about 100 years, it had gone from being really numerous on this island in this one place to then not existing at all. And that's purely down to human activity. Obviously, we don't know what caused a lot of extinctions. So the dodo, obviously we do know, but things like the dinosaurs, we have to have sort of an educated guess. Fossils can't tell us about extinction. They can tell us about evolution, we can compare fossil records, but we cannot tell what's caused things to go extinct. We can't tell if it was a predator or a disease, a change in the environment, a competitor. We can sort of tell with human activity because that's sort of a bit easy, especially nowadays with how bad we are at looking after the environment. But fossil records don't tell us anything about extinction. They just give us the evidence for evolution. So you're now going to complete these questions for me. Apologies there, that first answer is in there, so only you've been given the first one. But do fill in the rest of these, and when you're ready, you can play the video again. So pause the video now, and then play it again to see the answers. So you should now only be watching if you've answered the first 2 questions. Your answers are there. Please mark your answers. When you're ready, we can move on to the next slide. We now have another 4 questions for you to answer. Again, please pause the video and answer these questions. You should now only be watching if you've answered these questions. I'm going to show you the answers now. Mark your answers. Hopefully you've got them all right. I'm now going to move on to the last 2 questions. You'll notice I've missed out question 8 in your booklet because it doesn't have space to put in the diagram, but you can answer that as well. Do have a go at answering these 2 questions. Pause the video now. You should now only be watching if you have completed these 2 questions. The answers are on here now. So thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been informative. Keep an eye out for the next lesson coming up as well. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.